A very good day to all my listeners all across the world. Welcome back to my podcast. This is George Nathaniel for you. As I always do, I come back with very simple and generic topics that relates to each one of you. My topics are all about wellness and progress and topics that will help us elevate ourselves in life. Well, as you know, I always come back with very specific topics. And the topic for today is elevating the jinx. Well, we all look at jinx in a negative aspect, but let us look at jinx in a positive aspect. So, what are the things that we look at when you look at elevating the jinx? So, let me begin on a lighter note. Well, as we know, jinx happens when two people say the same word or phrase at the same time. For instance, if you and a well wisher say success matters at the same time, it would be considered a jinx. So that is looking at jinx in a positive aspect. So let us move out of jinx as being a state of struggle period, or looking at breaking a jinx or a struggle period. Let us look at a positive aspects over the jinx. Jinx is about finding a common goal or platform to succeed or elevate over any of our goals in life. So, looking at the positive aspect of jinx, the most important thing is to actually knock off the thought process and find a common way through the process. Find the way to outdo the mind over matter. That is exactly what we're talking about when we say elevating the jinx. Let us look at a person, a thing, or anything that influences in our lives. Let us find a way how we can elevate over the jinx, how we can elevate over the struggle period. Personally or professionally, values have enlightened lives across generations and excelled, surpassing everything. So, values is nothing but all efforts. Values is experiences. Values is everything that goes into action and positive action. So, when we talk about elevating this jinx, what are the key takeaways that we can actually think about? So when I say key takeaways, I always have a few takeaways that I mentioned, a few generic key takeaways. So today made a list of three very basic key takeaways, and I'm sure as you sit down individually, your list will go on and relate to you in a much more specific or specified way. Well, I would say when we look at elevating the jinx, what is important is preparation and attempting to break anything of a jinx while striving forward. Yes, preparation and attempting is very, very important. The thought process and the way about. Benchmarking is another way, and benchmarking is incomparable to just focusing and always trying to take the initiative while doing the right things. So I'm repeating this once again. So benchmarking is not about always doing the right things, but benchmarking is finding the value in doing the right things. Trying the hardest with all emphasis on great rewards. That is very, very important. And remember, never wait for any validation. There are times in life when we give our best and we instantly wait for validation. Well, if you're looking at elevating the jigs, remember that validation will come over time. Remember, we need to take one day at a time. We need to consider a moment at a time. We need to consider a moment over a day. And what we need to understand is we need to build platforms over a lifetime. And whatever platforms or preparation, it has to be over our best. We have to be satisfied with all our efforts. We need to understand that yes, While putting in our best, it's all about elevating. While putting in our best, it's all about learning. While putting in our best, it's all about achieving. So, when we talk about elevating the jinx, what we need to understand is yes, the few aspects that I mentioned earlier: preparation and attempting, emphasis, emphasis on efforts and not on validation, and taking the time off to focus on preparing the platform that actually each one of us needs in our lives. I keep I kept my podcast very simple, very generic, and I want each one of you to sit back and relate to it in your own ways. Understand how the podcast or how this particular subject can help you in bettering your own lives and in progressing over life. I hope you like listening to my podcast. This is George Nathaniel. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a wonderful period ahead.